Rosann, we've known each other for 3 decades.
Yes, a long time.
And you have been a professional counselor.
As you have been a professional counselor, how many people have we known in Hong Kong?
Yes, quite a lot.
So many different people.
And so many changes.
And that's why we want to think about women now and women then, and how women have changed over these years.
That must be very interesting.
Yes.
And it covered different generations.
Always.
Well, if they're interested in what we are talking about, how are they going to find us?
You're going to find us Tuesday night, 9 o'clock, PsychoAlchemy. We are Women Now and Then.
See you there.
Dorothy, let's roll back a little bit. We talked about physical hitting or beating, which sounds terrible. But I am reminded that my father, I learned, my father never hit me. I have no memory at all of my father ever raising a hand to me, nor my mom. So that wasn't part of my growing up. But as an adult, I learned that my father was beaten many times by his father.
Oh, wow.
So something must have happened in the growing up years of our fathers that when it came time to become a father, they would not hit.
Yes, yes, yes.
But interestingly enough, you talked about when the man becomes a father for the first time. After 1 week, after the first week I was born, my father disappeared for 2 weeks.
So frightening for him.
I think fatherhood
Yeah,
is.
overwhelming, huh?
And men, where do they go to talk about? Oh my goodness, I have a child. I'm the eldest in my family. They just disappear. They take action. They take action.
Yeah, yeah.
And when he came back, he was ready to be a caring, understanding
Yes,
partner.
yes.
But how do men learn to do this? So I give credit to the men who are trying to evolve a new style of fathering.
Yes, yes.
So many times their own father is not the role model they want.
Not really, huh?
Well, and in these changing times,
Yeah.
Dorothy, where women can earn as much money as men, what can the man contribute to this marriage? He's got to do more, and that's tough for
Yeah.
men these
Well,
days.
I'm glad you did that just now.
Yes.
Give credit to men, because my experience in counseling, a lot of women just complain about men not evolving. You know, how come they don't spend so much time with their children? But as you mentioned, our grandparents used to hit the kids, right? The grandfather hit the father. But then the father make up their mind not to do that, and despite the fact it's so frightening, he had no idea how to do it. He managed to control himself and talk sense or develop a relationship with the children. Then the father these days, like my brother, right, is a father now. Actually, he also evolved. Mainly because he has studied in the States. So when he had his son Matthew, he actually woke up in the middle of the night to help milk, give milk to Matthew.
Oh.
Right. So in the past, mother is the one to do all everything, right?
Right.
But when he was educated in the States, so he realized that the wife need to rest, and so he was the one who woke up maybe 2 or 3 in the morning to change the diapers or feed the baby, right? And he has such a close relationship with the son. And I think this thing has dramatically changed. A lot of younger fathers these days, they indeed play a very important role in fatherhood. But I will be honest, women now are more demanding. Even though the men had already make a giant step in supporting child raising, they still want the man to spend more time. Yesterday I just had a new case, a 38-year-old mother complaining about the husband only spending 3 evenings at home with the children. But when I find out the size of this man's business and the extent he has to travel every year, every month, every week, and I think he already make a big effort. Whenever he's not in Hong Kong, maybe in Beijing, Shanghai, Malaysia, Singapore, he will FaceTime, he'll Skype. So
Oh, wow.
that's a pretty big effort.
Yes.
But the thing is, we need to recognize this is already a giant step for the father.
Yes.
There's no way you can ask him to be, how do I explain to her, domesticize.
Yes, domestic. Yes.
Domesticize a man, because his gene, his original DNA is to go out to fight, right?
Yes.
And we still need him to fight, but then we want him to take off his armor right outside the door, and when he walk in, he has to automatically become a loving, nurturing father, and it's quite demanding.
Quite
Right.
demanding. Quite demanding. And add to that, remember, the father who's good with an infant might not be the father who's good with a 7-year-old. Or
A teenager's right.
teenager and the years before teenage.
Oh yeah, even
When
tougher.
kids 10 or 11 and they start to look like they're growing up. Now, some fathers are good. Some fathers at that stage are, okay, let's go kick around a soccer ball.
Yes.
Or I'm taking you to the movies.
yes.
Or
yes.
time for you to be out with me alone.
Yeah.
But then you get to 16-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not spending time with my father. I got my friends. I want you to be with me. What are we going to talk about?
Yes.
So we have to remember that fathering is not only about the early years with the child, though they're very important,
Yes.
or about the time when you can decide what you want to do. The under 8, under 9-year-olds. By the time they're 11, they get articulate about what they want.
Yeah.
So then you got to get into the discussion mood with kids.
Yeah.
That's difficult.
Oh yeah.
But what's good about fathering is you get a chance over and over again to be a father through the growing up years.
Yeah.
And you get to be a father through the launching years. You talked about your father launching you into university.
Yes. Yes.
And he was probably fairly proud of that.
Yeah.
Having worked with many, many teenagers in a secondary school, I see some of the brothers and sisters, and I say to 15-year-old boy, and how's your sister doing now that she's at university? And he goes, well, my mother wants her to be independent, so my mother only talks to her once a week. And I said, oh, that's probably a good thing. It works.
Yeah.
He says, don't tell my mother, but my father calls my sister every day. And I said, why is that?
Yeah.
Because my father's worried about her.
Yeah.
My father, but please don't tell my mother that I told you. Now look at those family
Yes.
dynamics.
Yes.
A teenage boy, a slightly old daughter in her first year away from home.
Right.
Mother wanting that girl to have independence. And this 15-year-old younger brother watching the mother, watching the father. The father cares about her. So a day came when both parents came to school and I talked to them. The father lingered. The mother went on to do something else. And he said, my son told you that I'm talking to my daughter. That I do this every morning on my way to work.
Oh yes.
I can talk with her, bless the new technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's her evening time.
Yes. Yes.
So we don't talk for long, maybe only 15 minutes. And I thought,
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long. And he said, but I really care about
Oh,
her.
yeah, yeah.
I worry so much about her being away from.
Yeah.
He thought Hong Kong was a safe city compared to where she went to school. So I think the patterns of mothering and fathering change with the ages.
Yes. Yes.
And change with, let me move on. After our children select mates, and that's a whole story.
Yes.
And the wedding, and that's a whole story. And how they bring up their own children. The father is still looking at this. He knew her as a little girl, and now he's watching her as a mother. Does he criticize? Can he criticize? How can you tell your grown-up daughter?
What to do, huh?
Or should you?
Yeah.
And should she run her own business? You know, we get to these.
Yeah.
Fathering doesn't stop when the child's 21 or 31.
Yes.
The fathering goes on.
Yes.
Did your father tell you how to run your business?
Oh, well, my father is a very subtle man. Well, every time when I went back home to have dinner at their place, we also always have a moment, just the two of us. And he would just put down his newspaper and he would ask me one grand question that I must answer every week. How's business?
So he did want to know about your business.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I would say, well, not too many people coming in for counseling, but I'm still okay. Corporate training is doing fine. So I report.
Yeah.
And then usually he would say, oh, that's fine. That's it. I've been answering that grand questions for so many years. One day I decided to change the answer a little bit, see if there's any difference. Because every time he asks me is how's business, I usually report a positive answer. So this time I decided to report a negative answer. I said, oh well, not too good. Maybe the economy is not well, so less corporate training. And I think people don't need counseling these days. So most of the time, quite, no business. And his answer is, fine. I was expecting, oh no, you need some extra money. I can support you. He didn't say that, but I think he did do something for me. Next week, when I went back, he find a book. All right, he read a lot of book. He find a book, and he gave me the book, and he put it on the table, and he just pushed it over to me.
Yeah,
this book is about counseling. He thought I must be very bad in my counseling business. This book is about counseling.
Yes.
And I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's like what you are doing.
Yeah.
So maybe this will help.
Maybe.
So it's so subtle, right? It's
I think the fathering just goes, and that's what's so important about fathering for men, because they can look back. How were they as fathers of infants? How were they as fathers when kids are learning to walk, or when they're learning to kick a ball? That's another thing. My child's got to learn these physical things. Riding a bicycle. Got to do it outside the house. Once again, outside the house.
I need to tell you this story because you know my family, right?
Yes.
And my two nephews, Matthew and Brendan, and we secretly sometimes have lunch and dinner. And I said, did you take care of your father? My brother, right? So, oh yeah. You know what we did in the last few months, we are still doing it regularly, is every night about 11 o'clock, we'll rush over to Paul, my brothers. Dad, you want to go down to have a walk? And
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. My father, oh yeah, sure, why not? You know what they're doing? My brother is really into Pokemon.
Really?
And if he
this is great.
if he went down himself to get the Pokemon, my sister-in-law Jackie will be very upset.
Right.
So the son is helping the father to get out. Sometimes they will even drive the car around to 11 o'clock to different district in Hong Kong to get the Pokemon. And to them, it's their father and son's time.
Yes.
It's so funny. And sometimes I will have dinner at my mother's place. My mother's place is so close to my brother's place, right? So when I left my mother's home, on my way back in a taxi, I actually saw my brother and my nephews standing underneath a street light doing this. But I think this is something.
This is real.
Really intimate.
Yes.
They don't talk. You can imagine all
Yes.
this. But I think this is a special moment. And my brother always complained, I have been trying to do a lot of fathering thing with my kids. But my sons don't like baseball, don't like soccer, don't like basketball. Father would always like to have a ball game and would have popcorns and watch it with the children, with the sons. But unluckily, none of my nephew like this. And he likes Super Bowl, right? And these last few nights he's been got up 2 a.m. to watch the soccer game. But none of the two boys are willing to do that. But the thing is, it's okay. And my nephew said, by observing how his father worked, how he spent time with his friends, and how he is so excited about the Pokemon. Actually, they are learning something from the father.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course they are.
I think as long as the father are willing to interact with the children,
Yes.
no matter what kind of interaction,
Absolutely.
to the children is already such a blessing. The sad thing is the absentee father, right?
yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
father now is because of less and less career or job opportunities in Hong Kong. It's very sad that a lot of men have to work in China
Yes.
or maybe in Southeast Asia.
Somewhere.
Right,
They're traveling a lot.
And the amount of time they can actually spend with the kids are getting less. Sure, we can always rely on FaceTime or
Yeah,
Skype.
but not enough.
But it's not enough. It's not
Not
there,
enough.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes. There is something to that. There is something to that.
and since we are heading the end of our show, this week I have actually 2 movies to share.
Two
I
movies.
need to.
Let's hear.
It's
Let's-
I want to be sure
Yeah.
I didn't say it right. One really good one, and you must watch.
Yes.
It's called Big Fish.
Big Fish.
Yeah,
Big
by
Fish.
Albert Finney. And this movie was so good. Was almost 10 years ago, and it was actually about an absent father. And Albert Finney paid a travel salesman, and all the time he has to travel in different part of the state, and every time he goes back to his hometown to his son, he will tell the son a lot of stories of his experience. But he is a very creative father. Instead of talking about meeting somebody, he make it more like a funny story, more like a circus. And he met up with twins, 2 girls, and he make up a story. It's like a circus. There's a performance with 2 heads. and when his son grew up, actually he became a very famous journalist. And so he always have this thinking, maybe my father was lying to me. So the story was about he finally had to go back to visit his father, who was very old then because he had cancer. All right, and he really wanted to find out whether his father's story is fact or fiction. And he felt that, oh, my father was just fooling me, making up all the stories, until the day when he find out the truth. And it was such a great movie. It's called Big Fish.
Big Fish.
And the other one I quickly describe.
Big Fish.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually by
Another
Sean
movie.
Paul. Oh no, not Sean Paul. Sean Penn.
Sean Penn.
It's called I Am Sam.
Oh.
Okay, and Sean Penn is such a good actor. He played a mentally handicapped father, and somehow he fight for custody of his 7-year-old girl. He is like medium, not really bad, too retarded, but cannot take care of the child. But he really loved his daughter so much. He worked in Starbucks, and he liked the Beatles. So when he got custody for his daughter, he changed his daughter's name to Lucy Diamond, right? You know,
Oh,
Lucy Diamond in the
yeah,
sky,
yeah.
right? So it's a lot of father and daughter love.
That
But
sounds-
you can imagine as the girl ages, when she was 7, it's no problem, right? His father's mental age is more or less like the daughter. But as the girl get older, the distance become bigger. But the story was so touching, was how he fight for the custody, and how he taught this cold-hearted lawyer who tried
Yeah.
to fight the custody what
Yeah.
is love,
Yes.
what is fatherhood.
Yes.
And it's very good. These 2 movies, you definitely can get it at a DVD, or maybe
Yeah.
even Netflix are
Netflix
showing
maybe,
it.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe,
So
maybe.
what about the books? What are you going
Oh, Dorothy. Such a lead in.
Yes.
This
yes.
is a classic.
Yes, yes.
Absolute classic for counselors in psychology. The Art of Loving, Eric Fromm. Now, one of, if not the main theme of this it's a thin volume, okay, is what's love about? And the contrast is, do you love that person? Do you love that object? Then that becomes a thing, something you love. But a person that you want to get to know, love then is a process.
Yes.
And in each of the movies,
Yes.
you talked about
Mm-hmm.
the process of love.
Yes.
It's
yes.
not one instant. It's not a Father's Day gift. It's not a special day.
Mm.
It's something that went on in Big Fish.
Yes. Yes.
It's something that went on between the father and the lawyer, how he felt so strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Process of love.
Process of love. Yes.
And as we talked about fathers,
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned more than one time the way the relationship with the father continues over
Yes,
the years.
yes,
It's
yes.
so important
Yes,
for women.
Yes. Yes.
So important.
Mm.
So we're looking at if the father
Mm.
daughter relationship is
Mhm.
this continuum,
Mm.
it teaches women
Mm.
that relationships with men, whether they realize it or not, consciously or unconsciously, love is about continuing the relationship.
Yes.
You don't fall in love. You continue to love.
Yes.
You learn how to love. And learning how to love involves a little bit of theory. Well, what does love mean? What does love mean?
Mm.
What does father's love mean? What does the father's love for his daughter mean?
Mm.
You can begin to study the theory,
Mm-hmm.
but it only happens when you practice being loving.
Loving. Yes.
The
yes.
art of
Of
loving.
loving,
The art
yes.
of loving. It's a process.
Yes.
It goes on over time. And this is the classic
Yes. Yes.
on how that process happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had two movies.
Yes.
We had two movies.
Mm.
We have a book.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking about fathers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory about your dad?
Well, I think when he just have some new ideas, or maybe he read something from the newspaper, and he is so excited. He was so excited, and when he saw me, he just keep on talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I love that. And I also love the moment when both of us enjoy a movie together. We are movie goers.
You're a
right?
movie family.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
my
this is a
father,
movie family.
And both of us, we have 3 favorite movies.
Oh.
Only me and my father will watch together because my mother don't like it. We both love Casablanca.
Oh, yeah.
We both love Gone with the Wind. All right, and it's like every time they show Gone with the Wind, it's like a long movie. We'll just sit there and watch it. And actually, the third movie is a little bit debate. You know,
Yeah.
And I said I like Wizard of Oz because I'm
Yes,
Dorothy,
yes.
right? And he said, "Well, I will go with what's that called? Vivian Leigh, Waterloo Bridge."
Ooh.
Yeah, I think my father was a romantic in
Yeah,
heart.
but he wanted to share the movies with you.
Oh,
Likes
yeah,
the
yeah.
time together.
Yeah.
When I was talking about my dad saying a good cup of coffee, what he wanted was the time with his daughter.
Yes.
Let it be ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
Let it be.
Yeah.
Oh, such a favorite memory.
Right. So next week we have to continue talking
have
about
to-
men, right?
Yeah, we have to. Fathering is one part of
Oh,
being
the
a man.
role. Yes.
One role.
Yes.
And there's a lot to it, but my goodness, talking about men.
Ooh.
And what is so strange is 2 women talking about men. That's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
That's going to be
Stay
a good show.
tuned. See you next week.
See you next week.